For the beginning of this course, the first thing we want to take care of is the installation of the software. For the software in this course, official software is R. R becomes more and more popular, and it's used in science and engineering and all of those that involves data analysis or data science. Here, this slide is prepared in the past, but the procedure would be similar. I will illustrate how to download and install the R in RStudio, and also explain some basic commands in R. So generally, if you have a Windows Mac computer or Linux computer, it is all pretty straightforward to download it and install the R. RStudio is something that helps you to work with R easily, in the sense that it will provide many of the additional amenities for the R software. For example, it will auto prompt, give you some suggestions of the keyword. But I found that the RStudio tend to be pretty clumsy because it is developed to cover more and more different scenarios and more also other software. You can use RStudio with things like Python or other softwares. So for that reason, this RStudio becomes really big. If your computer does not have a lot of computer memory, or the speed is not very fast, then I would suggest to work with the R itself instead of the RStudio. Okay, so first the installation. For the installation of R, you need to download it from this CRAN-rproject.org. This website, you do not really need to go there specifically if you have a Windows computer. Simply just go to Google. For example, I will show you here. I simply write R download in the Google browser. I mean, my browser default is to use the Google. And then it shows that the different links, like the first link is downloading R. The current version is R 4.3. But for this course purpose, you do not need to have this most recent R version. In fact, any of the R version could work, because the content that we're going to use are all in the base R, and that's in many of the old versions also. So any of the R version would work. For example, if you go to this, you are using the Windows computer and you click on this link, it will take you to the download site. This first one is the downloading. You click on that, it will save the exe file to your local computer, and double click that exe file will allow you to install it. If you have a Macintosh or Linux, this website will not work. Instead, you would better go follow this CRAN, but it's likely that when you use your Mac computer, it will also show you the Mac version for download. So if you go to the CRAN page, it gives you the different options to choose. Pick the one that's suitable for your operating system. If you follow this link, CRAN website, then for the R Windows, for example, you will click on this base one. That's the base R. Click on the base will take you to the base R download. And download the R for the Macintosh. After you click that, it take you to this website. And again, this version may not be the current version that's available. Just do whatever version you like, it is fine. And that's for the R. For base R, it's pretty easy to use. But if you want to have a more comprehensive features, a lot of other features, you can use the RStudio. RStudio can be downloaded from this posit.com.co at downloads. We just needed the free version of the RStudio desktop. After downloading that, Okay, it will take you to the web page and choose the platform or operating system suitable for your computer and download it and install. So that's if you have this Windows, Mac, or Linux computer. On the other hand, I see some of the students use a Chromebook. Chromebook is small, but unfortunately it has some difficulties with this software, particularly with R. It is difficult. Instead of trying to use R directly or RStudio directly on Chromebook, I would suggest to either try to use the Windows Virtual Desktop to access one of the university computer, or use the online version of the R or RStudio. By the way, before I move on, in terms of the R and RStudio, R can be installed even if you do not have administrator right, just any computer without administrator right and not Chromebook, you can easily use the R. But RStudio would require to have the administrator right in order to install and use it. So move on here. The Chromebook, two options. One is the remote access to a university computer that is through this Microsoft Remote Desktop. The university lab computers, they all have R and RStudio. And if you want to access those, you first need to use this Microsoft Remote Desktop to get connected to the university computer. And from there, you are basically logging in remotely to that local computer there to do your work. To use the Microsoft Remote Desktop, you can first go to this website, and from that website, follow the details there to install this Microsoft Remote Desktop. But in order to do that, you will have to use the VPN connection to K-State. The VPN is required for many things, not just for this Microsoft Remote Desktop, including, for example, the OneDrive. That also requires the VPN. So follow the link there and the instructions to install the VPN and also get it started. Once you have the VPN ready, then you can use this LabStats to connect to a K-State computer. So go to this remote access labstats.com, Kansas State University, and click on a desired computer to connect to. Okay. So after you connected to a university computer with a remote desktop, you will have to think that you are working in that lab with that computer. You are not on your own computer, even though you are using your own computer to access that remote computer. The point is that all the files that you work with and all the output and so on is not going to be on your local computer. Instead, it's in that university lab computer. So as a result, you have to manually save the files that you generated or you created, and even the data file before you can use it in the university lab remote access computer, you have to upload it, for example, to your OneDrive. And after you finish computation, you also need to download it and to your local computer, such as, for example, to the OneDrive, and then you can easily transfer from the OneDrive to your local computer. Okay. So that's remote access to university computer. Another option is to use the RStudio on the cloud. This link, you can follow that link to go to there to use the R and RStudio online. For that one, the usage is limited. Like it used to be like 50 project total and up to 25 hours per month. It changes over time. Let me see how was it now. I remember another time I checked it, it says that allows about 100 projects. Anyway, so over here, if you try to get started, you will be able to use it. Like here, it says free, still 50 projects, but 25 hours. Depending on how familiar you are with R, and if for the whole entire course purpose, If you need a lot of practice, this free version may not be enough. Remote desktop might be a better option for you. But if you are pretty familiar, in that case, this free cloud access should be sufficient. After you download the R or NR Studio, try to load a data set into R and see whether it's successful. So first open R. For example, here, I'm going to open the R. This one is the R itself, not the R Studio. With the R itself, if I want to load a data set into here, I will first need to set the working directory. This directory, generally, you can just go to your computer. For example, for me, if I want to download or open a data set, I'm going to, let me see, in my case, I'm going to this ANOVA. And here I have EXP101 as my data set. I will copy this folder path. After copy it, you go to your R session. And now what you want to do is from the file here, click on new script. That will give you an editor window. So this editor window, you can start to type the command. So I will first paste the folder path there. And this path need to be in quotation mark. And all of the forward, this backward slash, I have to change it to forward slash. Change all of them. After changing to the forward slash, now I'm ready to set WD. This is the set the working directory. Inside whatever in the string, the path need to be in the parentheses. If this line is ready, you highlight it or you put cursor there and then click on this little button that will run the line. So that's set the working directory to be this folder. And then afterward, you can read in the data. Like this one, I can do read.csv, and then I put in the file name exp10-1.csv. And this data set, after I read it in, I'm going to call it DAT. Simply submit this line, will put the data into this DAT, but I will not see it. For me to see it, I can put parentheses, which means print the DAT for me. Okay, so run that, I see the data set now. It contains the column strength and column box type, okay? So that's just a very basic reading in the data in R. And if I want to do a plot, for example, I'm going to try to do, in this case, I will try to plot the data as a box plot, but separating the different boxes. So I'll do box plot. And inside of that, I have two variables. One is the strength, ENGTH strength. And I have different box types. I use tilde box type to tell that for each box type, I want a box plot. And because here strength and box type are not directly in my R, instead it was inside of the DAT. So I have to tell that the data equals DAT. So the variable strength and box types comes from this DAT, that variable inside of there. So when I run that line, what I get is this box plot, the side-by-side box plot of each of the box type. It gives me the box plot. We'll learn the details of box plot in the first lesson. I could also do a histogram of the variable. The histogram is just the HIST, and then put the strengths in there. That'll give me the histogram. Oh, by the way, yeah, the histogram is not known, so I have to use DAT $strengths to get me the histogram. Okay, so that's just the installation of R, and the basic R command is you can easily search online, and in addition to that, there's also a cheat sheet prepared by R Studio team. This is the cheat sheet that I put here is for the base R. There are a lot of commands that these are basically used very frequently. For example, if you know the something that you are interested, for example, you want to know about the weighted mean, but you don't really know the command, or in this case, you can do help.search. If you know the command, you can just directly do the question mark with the command name. For example, question mark, I'll put a box plot there and run this line. It will show me the help file for the box plot. This is the help file. It's a formula like I write strings tilde box type and then give the data and so on. So that's the help file, question mark with the command or help.search. Okay. There are many packages, contributed packages in R that help to do a lot of things in already pre-written packages. If you want the package, you can do the help and package equals the name of the package. For this course, most of the time, you don't really need to worry about the package because base R contains almost all we need. And if you have an object, you don't know what is it. For example, this DAT, what we have here, what is it? It's actually a data frame. But if you do not know or not sure what is it, you can look at its structure by str DAT that shows the structure of it. Here is the structure. It tells that it's a data frame. Data frame means that it allows multiple variables in there, and these variables could be of a different type. In this case, the strings is one variable in that data frame. It's a numerical variable. The values are given behind here. And box type is an integer variable, and the values are 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So that's the structure of the data. Out of this screen, what you see is this the one over here that you see is output, and the command in the red color, output in the blue color. This is called a command window or R console. And the one here that I put my code in, that's a editor, just like a notepad. And this one here, this is a plot. The plot is a graphical device. You could have a multiple graphical device. In this case, I only have one. And if you need to have another one, for example, this is a histogram. I also want the box plot to show up together. Then I just need to, so the histogram was already in that graphical device. Afterward, I need to do dev.new with parentheses. So if I run that line, it will generate a new graphical device, and then I run the box plot command, it will show me the box plot. It will be at the same spot, but you move it around, you will see the different graphical devices are in there. So that's about the basic of installing R and get it started.